The Hangover Part III is a 2013 American comedy film produced by Legendary Pictures and distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. It is the sequel to 2011's The Hangover Part II, and the third and final film in the Hangover trilogy. The film stars Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis, Justin Bartha, and Ken Jeong. The supporting cast includes Jeffrey Tambor, Heather Graham, Jamie Chung, Mike Epps and John Goodman, with Todd Phillips directing a screenplay written by himself and Craig Mazin. The film follows the Wolfpack as they try to get Alan the help he needs after facing a personal crisis. However, things go awry when an incident from the original film comes back to haunt them. The Hangover Part III was announced days before the release of The Hangover Part II, and Mazin, who co-wrote Part II, was brought on board. In January 2012, the principal actors re-signed to star. In March 2012, Warner Bros. Announced a U.S. Memorial Weekend release. The supporting roles were cast between June and September 2012. Principal photography began in September 2012 in Los Angeles, California, before moving to Nogales, Arizona and Las Vegas, Nevada. The film was released on May 23, 2013. Despite negative reviews, The Hangover Part III had the second biggest worldwide box office opening for an R-rated comedy following The Hangover Part II in 2011. Plot: 2 years after the events in Bangkok, Leslie Chow escapes from a maximum security prison, using a riot as cover. Meanwhile in America, Alan Garner causes a 20-car freeway pileup after he purchases a giraffe and accidentally decapitates it on a low overpass. Alan's father Sid, furious with Alan for his immature antics and never owning up to his mistakes, dies of a heart attack in the middle of a lecture. After the funeral, Alan's brother-in-law Doug Billings informs friends Philonek and Ster Price that Alan has been off his ADHD medication and is out of control. They attend an intervention, in which Alan agrees to visit a rehab facility in Arizona, so long as the Wolfpack takes him there. On the way to Arizona, Phil's minivan is rammed off the road by a rental truck and the group is taken hostage. They are later confronted by a crime lord named Marshall and Black Doug, his head of security. He tells them that years ago Chow hijacked half of a $42 million gold heist and, seeing how Alan has been the only one to communicate with Chow during his imprisonment, deduced that the Wolfpack could locate him and retrieve the gold. Marshall kidnaps Doug as collateral and gives the others 3 days to find Chow, or else Doug will be killed. Alan sets up a meeting with Chow in Tijuana, Mexico, where Stu and Phil will hide and attempt to drug him. However, Alan accidentally gives away their location and he forces them to confess they are working for Marshall. Chow explains his plan to retrieve the stolen gold from the basement of a Mexican villa he previously owned. Stu, Alan and Phil break into the house and successfully retrieve the gold, but Chow double-crosses them by locking them in the basement, rearming the security system and escaping in Phil's minivan. They are arrested but mysteriously released from the police station, where they are picked up by a limousine and taken back to the villa, where they meet up with Marshall. They learn that Chow had lied to them. The villa was never his. In fact, it was Marshall's own villa and the gold they stole was the other half he didn't get from Marshall, who forgives them for their mistake but kills Black Doug for his incompetence and reminds them of their now 2-day deadline. The group tracks Phil's phone, which was left in the minivan, outside a pawn shop in Las Vegas. The pawn shop owner, Cassie, tells them that Chow traded a gold brick for $18,000, far less than its usual sell rate of $400,000. Using Stu's former lover Jade as their contact, they learn that Chow is barricaded in the penthouse suite of Caesar's Palace. Phil and Alan sneak into his suite from the roof, but Chow escapes, jumping from the balcony and parachuting down to the strip. Stu catches up to Chow and locks him in the trunk of the limo that Marshall had lent to them. They take the gold and meet with Marshall, who releases Doug back to the group. Although Marshall initially promised to not harm Chow, he shoots through the trunk of the car, presumably killing him. Luckily, Alan had given Chow the means to extricate himself from the trunk through a back-seat compartment just moments earlier. Chow emerges from the limo and kills Marshall, allowing the Wolfpack to live because Alan had saved his life. He offers Alan a bar of gold as a gift, but Alan turns him down, and ends their friendship due to Chow's unhealthy influence on the group. As Chow sadly watches them leave, they go to retrieve Phil's minivan from the pawn shop and Alan makes a date with Cassie. 6 months later, the two marry. Vowing to begin taking responsibility for his actions, Alan regretfully resigns from the Wolfpack, but would still like for the gang to hang out on occasion. As the four walk to the ceremony, a montage of clips from the previous films play, thus ending the film. In a mid-credits scene after the wedding, Alan, Cassie and Phil appear to have staged another wild party that they cannot remember. Stu emerges from the bathroom with breast implants and Alan remembers that the wedding cake was a gift from Chow, who emerges from the next room naked, laughing and wielding a katana. Cast: Bradley Cooper as Philonek, Ed Helms as Dr. Stuart Stu Price, Zach Galifianakis as Alan Garner, Justin Bartha as Doug Billings, Ken Jeong as Leslie Chow, John Goodman as Marshall, Melissa McCarthy as Cassie, Jeffrey Tambor as Sid Garner, Heather Graham as Jade, Sacha Baron as Tracy Billings, Jamie Chung as Lauren Price, Gillian Vigman as Stephanie Inek, Mike Epps as Black Doug, Mike Foley as Nico, Johnny Coyne as Hector, Davin Tong as Chow's son. Production. In May 2011, days before the release of The Hangover Part II, director Todd Phillips said that there already are plans for a third film but no script or start date. About the possibility of The Hangover Part III, Phillips stated, "If we were to do a third one, if the audience, if the desire was there, I think we have a very clear idea where that would head. It's certainly not in the same template that you've seen these movies. The third would be very much a finale and an ending. The most I could say about it, what's in my head, and I haven't discussed it with these actors, is that it is not following that template but very much a new idea. As far as where it takes place, I said I'm very open." Also during May, Craig Mazin, who co-wrote The Hangover Part II, entered early talks to write the script for the third installment. In December 2011, Bradley Cooper appeared on The Graham Norton Show to promote The Hangover Part II DVD and Blu-ray release, where he stated he hopes that The Hangover Part III will start shooting in September 2012, and also stated that Todd Phillips is working on the script. In January 2012, it was reported that stars Bradley Cooper, Zach Galifianakis and Ed Helms were nearing deals to reprise their roles in third installment with each receiving $15 million for their participation. In February 2012, Mike Tyson stated that he would return in the third film, although he later told TMZ that "I have no idea what's going on. I'm not in this one." In March 2012, Warner Bros. Announced that it was moving forward with the sequel and scheduled a release date of May 24, 2013, again aiming for a Memorial Day opening weekend. In June 2012, it was reported that the third installment would return to Las Vegas and would shoot on the Las Vegas Strip and at Caesars Palace. The report stated that much of the film would also be shot in Los Angeles and Tijuana and include a storyline that involves the boys rescuing Alan from a mental hospital. In July 2012, Ken Jeong signed on to return in a significantly expanded role. The following week, Mike Epps entered negotiations to reprise his role of Black Doug. In August 2012, it was reported that Heather Graham would be back to play Jade the stripper. A few days later, Sacha Baron was signed to reprise her role as Doug's wife, Tracy. In August, John Goodman began talks to join the cast in a small role, then described as an antagonist in the same vein as Paul Giamatti's character in The Hangover, Part II. In September 2012, Justin Bartha said he had signed on to return in the sequel. Principal photography began on Monday, September 10, 2012 in Los Angeles, California. The following week, Melissa McCarthy entered negotiations to join the cast in a small role and Lela Loren was cast as a police officer. On October 8, 2012, production moved to Nogales, Arizona, which doubled as Tijuana in the film. On October 20 and 21, a stretch of the 73 Toll Road in Orange County, California was closed for filming. At the end of the month, production moved to Las Vegas for several weeks of filming. Principal photography concluded in Las Vegas on Friday, November 16, 2012. Soundtrack The Hangover Part III, original motion picture soundtrack is the soundtrack of the film. It was released on May 21, 2013. Track listing: other songs featured in the film but not on the soundtrack including Hurt by 9 Inch Nails, The Stranger by Billy Joel, An by Black Sabbath, Dark Fantasy by Kanye West, In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, and Careless Whisper by George Michael. Release: in early May 2013, Warner Bros. Moved the release date for The Hangover Part III to Thursday, May 23, a day before Universal Pictures released Fast and Furious 6, in an attempt to beat the Memorial Day weekend rush. The Hangover Part III premiered on Monday, May 20, 2013 at the Westwood Village Theatre in Los Angeles, California. Box office: The Hangover Part III took in $3.1 million in late Wednesday night screenings, ahead of its wide release on Thursday, May 23, 2013. The film has made $109.3 million in the US and Canada. It was projected to earn $80 million in its first 5 days. Early figures indicated first 5 days' earnings would be closer to $50 million, far below the $135 million earned by The Hangover Part II in its opening days, with the film generally considered a box office disappointment, based on these numbers. The Hangover Part III earned $112.2 million in North America and $249.8 million elsewhere, for a total box office gross of $362 million. Critical reception: The Hangover Part III received negative reviews. Review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes gives the film a score of 19%, based on an aggregation of 182 reviews with an average rating of 4.0/10. The website's consensus reads, "Less a comedy than an angrily dark action thriller, The Hangover Part III diverges from the series' rote formula but offers nothing compelling in its place." Metacritic, which uses a weighted mean, assigned a score of 30 out of 100 based on reviews from 36 film critics. Audience polls conducted by CinemaScore gave the film a B rating. The film was nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Prequel, Remake, Rip-Off or Sequel. Andrew Barker of Variety gave the film a negative review, writing, "Ditching the hangovers, the backward structure, the fleshed-out characters and any sense of debauchery or fun, this installment instead just thrusts its long-suffering protagonists into a rote chase narrative." Stephen Farber of The Hollywood Reporter wrote, "Young viewers looking for unbridled raunch will be sadly disappointed, and so will other moviegoers expecting more than a few chuckles." Stephen Holden of The New York Times called The Hangover Part III a dull, lazy walkthrough that along with A Big Wedding has a claim to be the year's worst star-driven movie. Betsy Sharkey of The Los Angeles Times said, "I'm not sure who let the dogs out this time, but they should be made to pay." Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times wrote, "Director Todd Phillips delivers a film so different from the first two, unregistered trademark I'm not even sure unregistered trademark is supposed to be a comedy." Christy Lemire of the Associated Press gave the film a positive review, writing, "The Hangover Part III runs a different sort of risk by going to darker and more dangerous places than its predecessors, both artistically and emotionally. It dares to alienate the very audience that made The Hangover the highest-grossing R-rated comedy of all time." Home Media: The Hangover Part III was released on DVD and Blu-ray, on October 8, 2013 in the US and December 2, 2013 in the UK. References. External links. Official website, The Hangover Part III at the Internet Movie Database, The Hangover Part III at Rotten Tomatoes, The Hangover Part III at Metacritic, The Hangover Part III at Box Office Mojo.